You'll note that the title of Chapter 4, Distribution and Omnichannel Network Design, may be slightly different than what you have if you're using the 9th edition of the text. I'd suggested the 9th edition of the text because it's so much cheaper than the 10th, but unfortunately I've noticed that in the 10th, from which I've taken the PowerPoints, some of the titles of the chapters are slightly different, but the material should match up. So looking at Chapter 4, it examines several strategic aspects of supply chain network design. While it may sometimes be that change for the sake of change is helpful, a number of prominent factors may suggest that a redesign of the network may be necessary. Next, the process of supply chain network redesign is examined in detail. This content provides a useful framework for understanding the key steps that must be included in a comprehensive approach to network design and facility location. Following these discussions, attention shifts to several major locational determinants. These factors may be either regionally focused or site-specific. Also included is a summary of current trends governing site selection. The chapter content on network design concludes with coverage of several modeling approaches that can be used to provide insight into the issues of supply chain network design and facility location, and also provides valuable perspectives on the increasingly relevant topic of omnichannel supply chain strategies. In addition to details relating to the overall topics of omnichannel, this chapter also considers the network design issues that can facilitate successful implementation of the concept. The strategic importance of supply chain network design focuses on several types of change that may suggest a need to reevaluate or redesign a firm's logistics network. While not all of these factors will affect any single firm at the same time, they represent some of the more frequently changing elements of the business environment that affect logistics and supply chain management. Such changes are as follows: changes to global trade patterns, changing customer service requirements, shifting locations of customer and/or supply markets, change in corporate ownership through merger or acquisition activity, cost pressure, competitive capabilities, and corporate organizational change. Changes to global trade patterns. With the passage of time, it's easy to see significant changes in the pattern of global trade. This is due to the economies of regions and countries being dynamic and subject to continual change. Some of the factors that need to be considered include currency exchange rates, volumes of commerce between and within regions and countries of the world, abilities of regions and countries to have ample availability of needed items for shipment to global locations, global transportation infrastructure necessary to physically move items from place of availability to place of demand, and balance or lack of balance in global trade lanes. This relates to the issues of supply and demand for global logistics and transportation services. Customer service requirements. The logistical requirements of customers are changing in numerous ways, and so the need to reevaluate and redesign supply chain networks is of great contemporary interest. While some customers have intensified their demands for more efficient and low-cost logistics services, others are seeking relationships with suppliers who can take logistical capabilities and performance to new unprecedented levels. Shifting location of customer and/or supply markets. Considering that manufacturing and logistics facilities are positioned in the supply chain between customer and supply markets, any changes in these markets could cause a firm to reevaluate its supply chain. Change in corporate ownership through merger or acquisition activity. A relatively common occurrence today is for a firm to experience a change in control of ownership associated with a merger, an acquisition, or a divestiture. In such instances, many companies choose to be proactive and to conduct a formal evaluation of new versus previous supply chain networks in advance of such a change. Corporate organizational change. It's not unusual for supply chain network design to become a topic of discussion at the same time that a firm considers any major corporate organizational change, such as downsizing. In such instances, the strategic functioning of the firm's logistics network is viewed as something that must be protected and even enhanced through the process of organizational change. Cost pressure. A major imperative for many firms today is to figure out new and innovative ways to take cost out of their key business processes, including those relating to logistics and supply chain management. In such instances, a reevaluation of the logistics network and the functioning of the overall supply chain can frequently help to uncover new sources of such savings. Competitive capabilities. Another factor relates to competitive pressures that may force a company to examine its logistics service levels and the cost generated by its network of logistics facilities. To remain competitive in the marketplace or to develop a competitive advantage, a firm should frequently examine the relative locations of its facilities toward the goal of improving service and/or lowering costs. This figure identifies the 6 major steps that are recommended for a comprehensive logistics network process. Step 1. Define the logistics supply chain network design process. First, a logistics network re-engineering team is formed who is responsible for all elements of the logistics network design process. Parameters and objectives of the logistics network design or redesign process itself are established. The use of third-party suppliers of logistics services is a topic also addressed early. Step 2. Perform a logistics supply chain audit. A logistics audit provides members of the re-engineering team with a comprehensive perspective on the firm's logistics process and the ability to gather essential types of information that will be useful in the redesign process. Step 3. Examine the logistics supply chain network alternatives. Examining logistics network alternatives involves applying suitable quantitative models to the current logistics system, as well as to the alternative systems and approaches under consideration. The use of these models provides insight into the functioning and cost service effectiveness of various possible networks. Step 4. Conduct a facility location analysis. Once a desired logistics network has been recommended, the next task is to carefully analyze, both qualitatively and quantitatively, the attributes of specific regions or cities that are candidates for sites of logistics facilities. Next, a location selection team is formed in order to collect information on specific attributes, as well as to examine potential sites in terms of topography, geology, and facility design. Step 5. Make decisions regarding network and facility location. The network and specific sites recommended in Steps 3 and 4 should then be compared with the design criteria that were identified in Step 1. This step should confirm the types of changes that are needed to the firm's logistics network, also keeping within the context of overall supply chain positioning. Step 6. Develop an implementation plan. Once an overall direction has been established, an implementation plan is developed, serving as a useful roadmap for changing the logistics network.